Hello, this is Taha.
This is Anaina,
This is Movie Masala.
and we're here to yap at you about films we've watched recently.
And today we're doing Elio.
Shmipa de Gumiba.
No, I'm not learning Elioese.
Major Solis?
You going to the seminar tonight? There'll be a speaker from the astronaut selection program.
No, something came up.
Oh, is this the nephew we've heard so much about?
Yes, that's him.
The new Pixar film. The new original Pixar film after Inside Out 2 last year.
Yes, very, very exciting, and also directed by Madeline Sharafian, Domeshi, and Adrian Molina. Domeshi of Turning Red fame.
Another Pixar film which honestly was part of this time period where I think Disney really dropped the ball on the Pixar brand with Turning Red, Soul, Elemental, as we talked about.
Yeah.
It depreciated their basically value and made people be like, why would I go out to watch them if I can just wait a month and watch this at home?
No, for sure. And Elio, I really hope is not part of them, because when I was in the cinema watching it yesterday, there were only little families around me, as well as I think teenagers. And by families, I mean dads with their two young kids with big buckets of popcorn, the size of their torsos. And I was just like, yes, kids need to go to the cinema. Kids need to have this experience. And I'm so glad that, they picked to see Elio, because it's such a good film. And I really need Disney to not drop the ball on this Pixar original film.
Yes. So going over the plot very briefly, it stars Elio, who is another Disney orphan in the long list of Disney orphans, whose aunt is taking care of him after his parents have passed away, and who has this deep obsession for space and is constantly trying to find aliens and eventually does. And just on the plot basis, right? I think this film's plot is relatively okay. I think in terms of storytelling, it's not giving me something that is extremely unique necessarily. I think it's much more on the execution of that story and the themes it is tackling within that, and small moments that it really excels at, that I think this film really comes into its own.
For sure. I think most Pixar films, this film's best point is at its main theme and the metaphor that it is trying to tell. And what I love about this film is it's not a metaphor anymore. They are explicitly saying out loud what the message and what the purpose of this film is, which is man's quest to find out that we are not alone.
Yes. Firstly, immediately, this film introduces the Golden Record. It introduces Carl Sagan and Voyager 1. This is the moment where I'll fully admit I'm not the best person to review this film. I was immediately tearing up at just that. There's no reason why anyone should. That's not a normal reaction, I don't think. It's just, I really love this whole story behind the Golden Record and what it represents. Voyager 1 took one of my favorite, if not my favorite picture of all time, which is the pale blue dot. And just that entire idea of communicating and just the story behind all of that, I just love so dearly that I think it just made me connect to that childhood, looking at the stars, genuine wonder. I was Anton Hugo after he ate that first bite from Ratatouille,
No, I think we are the perfect people to review this film, because I was the exact opposite. I have little to no interest in space. I have no fucking idea what Voyager 1 and the Golden Record is. And I have no natural curiosity about extraterrestrial outer space, physics, whatever section of it. So I think we're the perfect duo, because I still really like this film, and it really connected with me because of that one message of there are so many different things humans do to find connection, and this is one of them. And I'm glad that it showed different ways of finding connection as well. So just to pick up from where you left off, he finds these aliens and then has to go on this whole quest of solving some problems he caused because of just a kid, right? Making friends, kind of learning to trust yourself, and also learning to trust the people who say they care about you when they say they care about you. To be yes, I do deserve love and affection from everyone, not because of any reason, but just because I am, and things like that. And I definitely think that the film picks up a lot after its like first 45-50 minutes, because I'm not gonna lie, like I said before, space is not my jam.
But for me, I think I really like the start personally.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder when the aliens are gonna show up, because that's what this entire film has been marketed around. But I personally did really like the start because I think it establishes the characters so well. Specifically, I think Olga, who is the aunt, played by Zoe Saldana, there's one line specifically she says when Elio has really acted up and caused this whole mess, and she goes like, I don't know what to do. I never wanted this. And I think that is such a powerful line to insert. It's a great line to insert because it really does fully headfirst acknowledge that this woman really was career oriented and is fully taking care of a kid she never intended to have because she feels a sense of responsibility from like her sibling, right? And I think one of the great reasons for that is Yonas Kibreab's performance, because I think he plays Elio so well in that start, and he's injecting such like human moments into it that you really see that kid. And I think he really sells you this idea of he just really wants friends. He just really wants to feel wanted in such a meaningful way that he's just not able to find it. That's all he is looking for.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I definitely like see that the first bit of the film is necessary, because without the first bit of the film, the second bit doesn't work. So I do get it. And like I said before, I think it's a genuinely good film because of how much like care and attention it puts into its characters, but also the world building it's doing. Because, oh my God, does the alien world, as I've been calling it, because I do not know, I cannot remember what its actual name is called in the film. It looks so good, and it is genuinely confusing at first, which I think is really, really interesting, because at first when I was watching it, I was like, this is too confusing. No kid is going to understand this. I'm barely understanding this. But I think that's the point. The point is that it's not meant to be understood immediately or meant to discover slowly. I think the whole film revolves in some way around the slow discovery, the gradual discovery of different things, which I think is such a testament to how like space exploration itself works.
Yeah, 100%. I really did immediately seeing the colors and the visuals. I really think they were going for it. I still feel in terms of like worlds, I really think Inside Out might be one of the most creative Pixar has ever gotten with that. But I think it is still incredibly colorful, vibrant, distinct. It will sell, I hope it will probably sell a lot of toys.
I mean, it should. The vibrancy is just, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think again with the plot being much more about connection and like trying to feel what it, I feel there's also like a strong theme, at least I hooked up on, of like Elio. Like this is not explicitly said, but I think there's readings for it of Elio being neurodivergent or Elio even being queer. I think in just a way of like finding community and everything, which is strongly you can read into the text.
Oh, for sure. I think you can read Elio's like quest for connection, or even like desperation for connection, as like many, many different things, including I definitely see the neurodivergence bit, because there's so many elements of it that are incorporated in it, and not just of like
his obsession for space.
Yeah.
His inability to make friends. There's this one scene where someone tries to fist bump him and he just grabs their hand. And I thought that was kind of really funny and like a small moment to
exactly,
kind of emphasize
and
that.
I think a lot of that can also be attributed to the trauma of like losing both of your parents in one go, and then being in this completely new environment with a person who is making it very clear through no fault of her own though that this is not what she's wanted. So I think it's a lot of different things that come together all at once to make Elio this character. And I do see the kind of, you know, putting in of subtle queer hints as well.
Yeah, I think in the same way that it's about neurodivergency, the idea of like trying to find someone who's more like you, who will accept you, is something the queer community finds. Like the idea of it's the found family idea
exactly.
is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in that element, I felt really strongly. I think this is why I specifically connected to this film. I've seen like a lot of people not like connect to it in that way and not have those things. I understand that. Again, a film doesn't need to be for everyone. But I think this is like, again, within that string of like Pixar where it's much more focusing on much more specific experiences that everyone does not relate to.
Yeah.
Like while Inside Out, everyone does have that childhood anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion everyone has experienced.
Yeah.
Or like sadness or stuff like that. Like Turning Red, where it is much more of a specific generational trauma, like element of it is much more specific about immigration and that. I feel in that same vein, Elio feels more different and feels much more communicating to a very specific community.
No, for sure. And I think there's nothing wrong in that because that's actually what representation means. It's making hyper-specific films about certain experiences, but then not reducing the entirety of that community to that one experience because you're doing it through a metaphor via animation. Yeah, I think that's where it does its best.
I 100%. Like here, Elio is supposed to be like Mexican or like Latin American in some way. But I don't think that adds anything specific. Like Elio could be any ethnicity and the film reasonably would remain the same. And I think that is something that, like, again, just is another experience that people can relate to, right? So overall, like, I did enjoy this film. I would not say this is Pixar's best. I think they have done better films. But I would like people to go see this because I don't think it's a bad film. It comparatively, even if it might not be Pixar's best, for a studio that has such a high batting average, such a high success average, even their average films are like good films.
No, for sure. Absolutely. And like what I want to like end my thoughts on is like there was a kid with his mom and dad sat right behind and the kid was like chattering throughout the film, which usually I would find annoying. But this kid was like, he was having little moments of discovery every time something would happen. Like, oh my God, but that's his friend. Oh my God, but he's going to die. Oh no, what's going to happen now? And then at the end, when it all comes together, and then at the end, when it all comes together, and his parents are like trying to get him to keep quiet, but like also like encouraging him, like, yeah, that's right. But then at the end, when it all comes together, and you know, Elio decides to go back home with Olga to Earth, but also like still stay in contact with his friends. And then when they recite the final like thing from the golden record of like the ultimate point of this is just to find out that man is not alone. And I don't think the kid understood that. But I think the parents did, and the parents just went, oh. And I think that's going to be like a seminal moment for that family watching that film together.
I hope so.
Right? And
that is so nice to hear.
Exactly. And I think that's just the point of like watching
cinema.
Film. Exactly. That's the point of cinema. And I think that's the point of watching it in like a cinema room as well. It's like you get to sit there and you get to have these experiences, not just with yourself and people you know, but with like random strangers as well. Because just knowing that and hearing that through the film make the film so much better for me as well.
With that incredible, heartwarming story, those are our thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. This podcast is produced solely by us with musical assets from Pixar. If you enjoyed this, please do share and follow. See you again next time.
Bye-bye.